Let's take a little bit more of a detailed look at the lineup for this first race. On the front row then, the two Mondello race winners from last year. Muller still in his Vauxhall Astra Coupe, but Matt Neal now in a Honda. The MG of Anthony Reid is third, just bipping reigning champion James Thompson, who starts fourth. County Down's Alan Morrison is fifth in the Civic, Warren Hughes alongside in the MG, then it's Merseysider Paul O'Neill for Vauxhall. But there are problems for Colin Turkington, who's not on the grid. 18-year-old Tom Chilton starts his first race as a works driver. Phil Bennett is alongside in the Proton Impian. Rob Collard is the top independent qualifier. David Leslie is 12th in the Proton. And then we've got two class champions from last year on row 7, James Kay and Dan Eaves. Carl Breeze is absent. Gavin Piper's at the back of the Tourers after having his qualifying time annulled. And 20-year-old Luke Hines is on pole position for the more standard production class in his Honda Type R. Jim Edwards earns the first Team Varta front row start in the Accord. Michael Bentwood switches from single-seaters to the BMW 320i. And Tom Boardman has exchanged his BMW for a Peugeot 307. Paul Wallace and Chris Ryan are in GA Motorsport Alphas, while Alan Blenko starts from the back after gearbox problems yesterday. 16 Tourers and 7 production cars, all set for the first of 20 races to be held throughout the summer to determine some new champions. So we're all set to go now for the first round of the championship. Ivan Muller from pole position, Matt Neal alongside him. It's Vauxhall versus Honda. Who's it going to be into the first corner? Ivan Muller makes a very good start indeed. Matt Neal slots into second place. James Thompson on the right-hand side trying to come through on the outside now. The MG's getting in there as well. Anthony Reid and Warren Hughes, but a great start from Ivan Muller, who leads them through Dunlop, gets a little bit of a nudge from Matt Neal. There's a nudge as well from Anthony Reid, but somehow they all just make it through safely. Oh, and Phil Bennett's in trouble. Big slide from Phil Bennett.
Yeah, a lot of argy-bargy at the first corner, and Thompson was really the loser. He went round the outside, didn't find any grip, and both Anthony Reid and Matt Neal got in front of him.
Ivan Muller then making the most of that pole position. Anthony Reid in the MG, managing to get ahead of the Honda of Matt Neal. These cars also evenly matched in qualifying yesterday. Let's see what happened to Phil Bennett a moment ago.
Well, Bennett has a big slide, and Leslie, his teammate, spins in avoidance.
Oh, so not good news for the Protons. That was the view from on board Michael Bentwood in the production class BMW. Somehow he managed to avoid what could have been a lot of carnage. Ivan Muller has the advantage. Anthony Reid, these two have pulled away a little bit from the battle for third place. Matt Neal in the Honda under pressure from James Thompson. There's Warren Hughes getting down the inside of the Honda of Alan Morrison. On board with Warren Hughes, and it's all getting pretty tight out there.
Oh, great move that up the inside. We talked about that corner as being a good overtaking place, and he really pulled that off very neatly. Didn't run wide in the corner.
So, Matt Neal still holding on to third place at the moment as James Thompson has to try and fend off Warren Hughes in the MG. Alan Morrison now trying to come back at him again around the outside through the Irish Ferries turn, and Neal sliding that Honda. Oh, looked fabulous through there.
Yeah, the right rear tyre on these cars is the coldest tyre on the car. It gets the least amount of work. So through that corner, and in the background, Leslie's turned it around.
I think it's Bennett, actually. I think it's his teammate, Phil Bennett, who's swapped ends up at the top part of the track. We'll take another look at this.
Yes, in car with Phil Bennett. He just turns in, gets a little slide, as we were saying, jumps on the throttle, the car comes back and spins him round the other way.
Oh, and look how close Tom Chilton was to collecting him. Somehow he managed to avoid him, and Phil Bennett able to get back on, and David Leslie's off. David Leslie off at the side by the time. He's got the front wheel spinning, trying to get back on again.
Well, David Leslie has gone off now, and if he gets out of the grass, he'll be doing well. It's very wet, and Chilton's gone off as well. They're all flying off.
Well, the rain's been falling for a little while now. It's definitely getting a lot more slippery out there, and I think that's the reason we're seeing so many cars skating off onto the grass, over the curbs and through the gravel. Our race leaders still Ivan Muller with Anthony Reid chasing him. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to Matt Neal in third place, James Thompson in fourth, then it's Warren Hughes and Alan Morrison again. Morrison now on the inside. This is what Hughes did to him a couple of laps ago.
Yes, he's repeated the manoeuvre and given him a little shove for good measure on the exit of the corner.
Alan Morrison, the winner of the last round of last year's championship, ending the season well for Honda, and he's determined to try and show these Vauxhalls that Honda will be a threat all season long. James Thompson already finding Matt Neal a threat. He can't find a way past. Now, battle in the production class. We're on board with Luke Hines, Michael Bentwood and Tom Boardman just ahead, and one of the Honda, that's Tom Chilton just going wide in the background. This is the battle for the lead in the production class. Michael Bentwood has just got ahead of Tom Boardman.
Well, the wipers are going, the rain's coming down, it's getting tougher and tougher, and this could be a very good stop by the Proton here to get some wets on the car early.
So Phil Bennett heads back out of the pit lane, and meanwhile we're watching the battle that continues between Matt Neal and James Thompson. These two fighting over third place currently. The reigning champion, James Thompson, Didn't get off the line too well, but now wanting to find a way past Matt Neal. And Thompson's gone off. That was Thompson sliding off in the background.
He's just got into the corner a little bit too quick, and the rears have come round on him. He's lucky to keep that going.
Alan Blenko also a victim to these conditions. It's so slippery. Let's take another look at what happened to Thompson.
Well, Thompson locks up a little bit. The car goes off backwards, but listen to that throttle as James plants it to bring the front of the car around and just keep the car going through the gravel.
Oh, he did well to get out of it, didn't he? It's so slippery, but of course they don't want to come in and change onto wet tyres yet. They will have to come into the pits after lap number 10 when the pit lane opens. But in fact, Thompson's decided, I'm not waiting till then, I need wet tyres now.
Yeah, he's losing too much time. He's been off already. He's gambled on taking 4 tyres now, 4 wet tyres. He will, of course, still have to make his compulsory 2-tyre stop when the pit window opens.
Yeah, part and parcel of the British Touring Car Championship is you have to come in and make a pit stop. Battle for the independents there. Gavin Piper just ahead of Rob Collard. Those two battling over 5th and 6th overall, so they're doing extremely well. Now back with the leaders, Ivan Muller and Anthony Reid, and they're coming into the pits now. So they've decided they also need wet tyres fitted.
Well, they've probably seen how quick the other cars that have already changed are, and they just figure it's a simple maths equation. They'll lose too much time. But it's a battle of the pit crews now.
That's right, Tim. Yeah, West Surrey for MG and 888 for Vauxhall Racing. Let's see how they go to work here. It's pretty tough. They're not used to changing all 4 wheels at the same time, of course. Normally, the compulsory stops, they only have to change 2. And Vauxhall are ready, and away goes Ivan Muller, and the MG slightly slower away.
Yeah, he was. Good stop by the VX Racing crew, and that's given Ivan an extra 2 or 3 seconds. But he's coming out with James Thompson, who stopped earlier, not too far behind.
No heated tyres, of course, in touring cars, so Ivan Muller's got to get the feel of these wets as he comes out. Tom Chilton comes into the pits as well for his pit stop onto wet tyres. The slicks will come off, a little bit slow getting that right front off. Oh, and there's got a little bit of a problem there. The car seems to not be quite high enough, so it's a slow stop for Tom Chilton. Meanwhile, battle for the lead in the production class. Tom Boardman in the Varta Peugeot 307. Michael Bentwood in the BMW, trying to go around the outside initially into Dunlop, but deciding that discretion the better part of valour, and slots back into 2nd place in class. As into the pits now comes Alan Morrison.
Yeah, Morrison's one of the later ones to stop, and Dan Eves has gone off. He's plonked his beautiful little Peugeot 307 in the gravel. What a shame.
Great pity for him. Meanwhile, Matt Neal leads this race. He's not been into the pits, though, remember. These two have the 2 VX Racing cars. Warren Hughes just being passed by Thompson. Hughes has not been into the pits yet. He's still struggling around on slicks, as is our race leader, Matt Neal. So different strategies here. And indeed, Warren Hughes decides he's had enough on his slicks. He's coming in.
Yes, it's going to be too long for him to wait for the pit stop window, but the safety car's out now, and that's going to put a whole new complexion on the race. Most notably for Matt Neal, of course, who's still on his slicks.
Well, Matt's team managed by Mike Earl, and Vicky's with him right now.
Mike, can you just tell us what Honda's tyre strategy is at the minute?
Well, basically, Matt felt that he could keep going till the window opened to save having to stop twice. But now the safety cars come out, so we'll probably take advantage of that to do the stop now.
Lovely, thanks very much.
Well, still some debris around. Poor Dan Eves, of course, we've seen him go out. So that's both Peugeots, I'm afraid, not in this race as we get ready for the restart. Matt Neal on slick tyres in very, very wet conditions. This is like going running on sheet ice with your slippers on, Tim. It's going to be horrible for him, and the cars with wet tyres on are already going past.
Well, he can't brake or accelerate or corner anything like as quickly as the others. They're almost on rails compared to him. He's going to lose a massive amount of time on this lap alone. The safety car really coming out just 1 lap too early for him.
So Ivan Muller takes great advantage here. James Thompson goes with him, and in the background everybody's steaming past Matt Neal. We're riding with Thompson.
Well, you can see the conditions are very difficult. James is only following 1 car, and there's already a lot of spray up there, so it gets very, very tricky just to see where the road is.
Yeah, the conditions not making life any easier for Michael Bentwood. Look at the way his windscreen's misted up, and he's hit Luke Hines, that is. I don't know if you can even see Luke Hines through that windscreen, but poor Luke Hines off into the gravel. As coming into the pits now at last is Matt Neal, but he's lost a huge amount of time, struggling around on slick tyres. Finally, they put the wets on.
Yeah, the only advantage for Matt, of course, is he won't have to stop again. This will count as his compulsory pit stop as well, whereas the others will still have to stop again.
Same strategy for Gavin Piper and Rob Collard. The independents who've come in, they waited until the 10th lap was completed before coming into the pit, so they only had to make 1 pit stop. These guys will have to stop again during this period between laps 10 and 18, and indeed coming straight in, James Thompson as the safety car comes out. Now this really could work for Thompson.
Well, that was so fortuitous, but perfect for James. He's in the pits. This will count as his compulsory pit stop. He's not going to lose too much track time when he comes back out because the safety car's holding everyone up. Absolutely perfect.
Well, perfect as long as the team gets the job done right. It's just the front tyres they're changing this time. Not quite ready with that outside front, and behind him Paul O'Neill waiting for his opportunity to make his compulsory pit stop. Still a good, effective and quick stop for James Thompson, and with the safety car coming out, that's just about perfect for him.
Yeah, anyone that stops absolutely at this instant will gain a lot, and those who have still to stop will have to drop back.
Now Paul O'Neill ready to come out. Phil Bennett's coming out already. Oh, and they've hit each other. Paul O'Neill drives into the side of Bennett, hits the podium truck down at the end of the pit lane, and that is a very scary looking accident. I don't think anyone was standing just there, but Phil Bennett trying to get back into this, that looked pretty nasty.
Well, not Phil Bennett's fault. He's driving along the pit lane. Here you are in car on the pit lane speed limiter, and he gets tagged by Paul O'Neill as he pulls out of his pit space.
Well, let's take another look at it. Phil Bennett coming down. Paul O'Neill was waved out, but then suddenly there was a car there on the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, and it's just as well the speed limit is 40 miles an hour. Imagine how much worse it would be at high speeds. Into the pits now comes the MG of Anthony Reid and the other Honda of Alan Morrison. They're taking advantage of this safety car period to do their compulsory pit stop.
Yeah, Muller should have stopped on that lap, but I think perhaps with the pit lane incident that's just taken place, he couldn't get in.
So the two teams go to work. Great stop. Look at that, 6.44 seconds for Honda. That really is superb effort from them, and they get Morrison out ahead of Reid. Meanwhile, Luke Hines gets a tow. Oh, and Phil Bennett, well, after that accident in the pit lane, he hasn't got much further. He's now in the gravel.
No, when he gets back, he will not be a happy Easter bunny, that's for sure.
Restart then, and it's Muller versus Thompson once again up front. But remember, Ivan Muller has not yet made his compulsory pit stop. He still has that yellow strip on his side window to indicate he's not made that stop, and that's going to hurt him because James Thompson in ideal position right behind. Michael Bentwood there in the BMW production class car trying to keep out of the way, and Muller knows he still has to stop, and James Thompson can just sort of sit here and wait for Muller to go into the pit lane.
Yeah, James will know that Muller hasn't stopped, so he's not going to try anything too hard at this stage. He's really sitting pretty for the race.
Warren Hughes now running in a strong third place for MG. Paul O'Neill in the third of the VX Racing Vauxhall Astras, and then it's Alan Morrison in the second of the Hondas. So a good mix once again between the different manufacturers. Now, let's see what happened to Phil Bennett earlier.
Well, he's braking for the last corner Dunlop, going down the gears, but it's too late. He's locked the brakes up, stalled the engine, and he's a passenger.
So that was the end for Phil Bennett. Meanwhile, we're back with the leaders, Ivan Muller and James Thompson. They've managed to pull away from Warren Hughes, still running. Oh, and we've got two off, and that's Matt Neal on the left and Gavin Piper on the right. And Matt Neal, who was on the front row to start this race, remember, he's had some problems already, and now he's completely out of the race, and he looks absolutely furious, heading over towards Gavin Piper's car, and I don't think he's too happy.
Why is that happened, you plonker? Sorry. Next time I'll give it you back.
Well, Matt Neal, very disgruntled there, Tim.
Yes, his mother's obviously had a word with him not to swear on camera, but he really is very upset, and justifiably so. He was minding his own business, and Gavin Piper made a big mistake there, locking up and punching the back of him, and both of them in the gravel.
Yeah, not only taking Matt Neal out, but effectively ending any chance he had of a decent result in the independent category. Into the pits now, Ivan Muller. Finally, he can make his compulsory pit stop, but this will drop him down the order. He was leading, of course, but several cars will go past him as he rejoins. And there's a rather shamefaced Gavin Piper.
Yeah, it's not really the thing to do when your car is sponsored by Matt Neal's father's business, really.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some explaining to do in the pit lane afterwards, but for the moment, let's focus on this race. Going very wide, there is Paul O'Neill. Oh, he must have a problem there. Paul O'Neill just driving off the track.
Yeah, I think he's got damage there, obviously, from the pit lane incident earlier, and it looked to me like something went wrong and he just decided to pull it off the circuit.
Tom Boardman is in the pits as well. Looks as though there's a major problem for him in the Peugeot 307, so no win in the production class. James Thompson is our race leader. Warren Hughes running in second place, back up to full race speed again. Alan Morrison in third place, and then it's Anthony Reid in fourth, and Ivan Muller, after making that other pit stop, well, he's still going well. He's down in fifth place and as aggressive as ever as he now tries to squeeze out Anthony Reid. Reid giving him a little sideways tap, and Muller can't get through.
No, he's trying very hard to make up for that lost ground now, and I'm sure he'll pass here, but he really looks aggressive, he looks strong, he expects to win in these conditions. This is made for him.
Alan Morrison protecting the inside, so Anthony Reid comes down the outside, but he's braked too late. He's gone off, straight off into the gravel trap to join Gavin Piper out there. So that's just a little over-ambitious. Meanwhile, Jim Edwards in the silver car, leading in the production class. A little bit of rear bodywork damage to that car. Chris Ryan running second in class in the Alfa Romeo. And now let's turn our attention to this battle for second. Warren Hughes in the MG. Then it's Alan Morrison, and there's Ivan Muller. Muller now muscling his way up on the inside.
Yeah, the Vauxhall is very, very good on the brakes in both the wet and the dry, and Ivan's using that to maximum advantage here.
Great stuff from the Frenchman, but can he now go chasing after second place as well? Warren Hughes in the MG. The MG always seems to go well in slippery conditions. We saw it last year as well at Silverstone particularly, and Hughes wants to hold on to second, but his teammate's out. Anthony Reid can blow, and Chilton's out. Big time off into the Honda barrier in his Honda Racing Civic Type R. And Chilton joins that gravel graveyard that we've seen so many go into today. Hughes still coming under pressure, or a bit of a weave on under braking, and this is an opportunity for Muller.
Muller just touching the back of the car and forcing Hughes wide. He gets underneath before the second corner, and he's got that place.
Alan Morrison right there as well, trying to take advantage as Tom Chilton clambers over the barrier. His race is run, I'm afraid. And meanwhile, look, the battle in the production class. Jim Edwards has just been passed by Chris Ryan in the red Alfa Romeo, and Ryan having his first ever outing in the production class of the British Touring Car Championship. It's going well for him. Meanwhile, into the final stages of the race, and it's looking good for James Thompson. He went off in the first part of this race, remember, changed onto wet tyres at the ideal moment, and he's come through to take the first win of the season. What a great way to start his title defence. Ivan Muller, despite having to do that extra pit stop and the timing not being quite right, still finishes in second place. Alan Morrison comes through to take third place, and Warren Hughes finishes in fourth position, just losing out on that very last lap. Coming through to win the Independence Cup, it's Rob Collard. And that's a great effort for the privately run team. And in the background, there comes Chris Ryan to win in the production class for G8 Motorsport. So an eventful first race. And James Thompson's 10th season in the British Touring Car Series starts with his 23rd career win. Ivan Muller making it a 1-2 for VX Racing. Alan Morrison takes his third podium finish. Warren Hughes in the MG and David Leslie in the Proton ensure 4 manufacturers in the top 5. Rob Collard wins the independent class, and Chris Ryan takes the win in production.
That was a pretty tough race.
Yeah, I mean, crikey, it was a real topsy-turvy one. I mean, I went off in the early stage of the race. What the heck I was thinking.
You did quite a cunning pit stop.
Yeah, to be honest, I was going to come in straight away after I'd gone off, and then I thought, oh no, well, I'll see. I better call the team and see, because they won't be ready for me. And then, yeah, then we sneaked in as quick as possible, because I could see it was going to keep raining. Well, I hoped it was going to keep raining. And from there, we had a really good outlap, and then that just caught my places back up.
And I think you got fastest lap as well.
Oh, fantastic.
What about the instance that threw you off?
With Gavin, he's a plonker, and that's what I called him, because I know he wasn't driving maliciously, but he was just driving like a plonker. It was the second or third time he'd had me up the back, so I'm not best pleased with him.
Gav, tell us your side of the story.
It was a good race until then. Basically, I was following Matt around the track, not really wanting to challenge him. Coming into the first corner, I pulled out of his spray just so I could see where I was going, touched the brakes perhaps. I didn't feel too late, locked the brakes up, locked the car up, and then just skidded down the track. Tried to avoid Matt, but unfortunately I just tagged him, you know, half around the corner and put him in the gravel trap. Obviously I feel quite stupid because it was a silly mistake, but you know, hopefully both my car and Matt's will be ready for the second race.
So James Thompson wins the inaugural touring car race for this year. I look and feel like a Jan rat. Let's hope that things improve for race 2. Join us after the break.
Well, one of the rule changes for this year is that the grid for the second race lines up in the order of finishing the first, and they still have to carry lead ballast based on the earlier result. Thompson carries 42 kilos, Muller's on 30 kilos. Alan Morrison lines up third, with Warren Hughes fourth in the MG. David Leslie's car has no ballast, starting fifth. Rob Collard is the first of the cars to remove ballast. Tom Chilton lines up on the inside of row 4 with Reid next, and Paul O'Neill should be next up, but he's late out of the pits and will have to start there. Matt Neal will be hoping to erase the disappointment of being punted off earlier. His assailant Gavin Piper starts just 1 place back. Phil Bennett would also like a less incident-packed race. James Kay just wants a finish, as do Dan Eves and Carl Breeze, while Colin Turkington would settle for a start, but he's still got problems. Chris Ryan carries 42 kilos of ballast as the production class winner. Alan Blenko is second in class in his Honda, while Jim Edwards will have to watch out for the fast-starting rear-wheel drive BMW of Michael Bentwood alongside. Tom Boardman starts from the pit lane, while Paul Wallace and Luke Hines complete the grid, which is on a dryish track, but with some pretty slippery bits still offline. One of the other changes for this year is the second race of the day starts as a standing start, and not as a rolling start, as we saw last year. So we're all set to go then, and it's those two VX Racing teammates on the front row of the grid. James Thompson and Ivan Muller will go wheel to wheel, door handle to door handle as the lights go to green. James Thompson gets away from pole position. Ivan Muller goes with him though, and Muller on the outside as they go down towards the first corner might be able to find a bit more grip. Right behind them's Warren Hughes and Alan Morrison in the Honda, with David Leslie after a good result in that first race in the Proton. His teammate Phil Bennett running a little bit too wide, and one or two others getting into trouble through Dunlop Corner, but Rob Collard getting through the first series of corners safely. Michael Bentwood not so. The BMW spinning down there. Meanwhile, everybody making it through down towards turn 3.
Yes, Alan Morrison got a good start there and muscled his way up into second place, with Ivan Muller dropping down to third.
So James Thompson is exactly where he wants to be. He wants back-to-back victories here at Mondello to open up his title defence, and he's got a buffer between himself and Muller. Let's see what it was like from on board Morrison.
Yeah, the dry-ish conditions, meaning traction off the line, very difficult, but Morrison makes a good start and gets himself right up behind Thompson under that first corner. He doesn't want to give anything away. If he sticks on his bumper, he might get that position, and indeed he does, with Muller struggling for grip on the outside.
Couldn't get much closer than Morrison got to the back of Thompson's car, but here comes Muller. Muller down the inside. Oh, he hits him and he takes them both onto the grass. And look, they're losing loads of places on the inside. They both rejoin, but that's hurt Muller even more than it's hurt Morrison.
Yeah, that was a rare mistake for Muller. Bit of frustration showing there, I think, from his problems in the first race, and he just outbraked himself.
Well, the starter motor working okay on Paul Wallace's car, but not much else is. And I think that the man who was leading in the production class, his race is over. Oh, and Phil Bennett into the garage, so his race is done as well. And now look at this battle for fifth. Matt Neal on the inside. Anthony Reid, has it been hit by Muller? Muller again getting a bit aggressive.
Yeah, Muller's desperate to get through to the front as quickly as he possibly can, but Reid is being shuffled back as the race goes on.
Well, on board we are with the Frenchman. He's been runner-up in the championship the last 2 years in a row. He does not want to be runner-up this year. James Kay, meanwhile, who stepped up to the touring class this year, obviously in trouble with that car. In the production class, we've got Alan Blenko versus Michael Bentwood here. They're running third and fourth in class. The class being led by Jim Edwards at the moment in his Honda Accord, but Bentwood looking for an opportunity.
Yeah, he's looking to get up the inside here, and Blenko's running wide. I saw a puff of smoke from his car. I don't know if he's got a problem or not, but Michael Bentwood through cleanly on the inside.
Meanwhile, the two Hondas are battling over fourth, and in fact, Alan Morrison making life pretty easy for Matt Neal.
Yeah, he looked like he stayed out wide. Of course, this is the race where the ballast has been changed, and Matt Neal is running 24 kilos underweight, and he will have a very fast car in these conditions.
You said you saw a puff of smoke from Alan Blenko's car, Tim. There it is off at the side of the road now. Warren Hughes coming through in second behind Thompson. Leslie still in a strong third, but he's really got some pressure on him now from Matt Neal and Alan Morrison, and then Anthony Reid and still Ivan Muller at the back of the train.
Yeah, Leslie doing wonders with the Proton. He finished fifth in the first race, which gave him a good group position, but really the cars behind are faster, and David's driving a canny, wily old man's race, and he's holding them up for as long as he can.
Yeah, he's going to lose a little bit of time here, though. Matt Neal's going all the way around the outside of him at turn 2. That's a brave manoeuvre from Matt Neal, and it just about comes off. Oh, and that's somebody's gone off down here. It's Warren Hughes. Hughes sliding off into the gravel trap from second.
Yeah, and he won't get out of that gravel trap. I see he's got his wipers on, so maybe the rain's coming down again.
Well, yeah, you can see rain on Bentwood. This is a replay of him getting past Ryan.
Yeah, good move this. It's into MG, and it's a good overtaking place as the corner tightens up.
Well, talking of MG, that's Anthony Reid slowing down, and with Warren Hughes having just spun out and Colin Turkington not even starting, all three MGs are out, and it's only lap 7. Windscreen wipers are working as Michael Bentwood going for the production class lead here. Getting past Jim Edwards makes it look very easy indeed in the rear-wheel drive BMW. And we're just looking back at something that's happened a moment ago to Matt Neal. Look ahead.
Yeah, Matt's gone straight on, a mistake many have made, and he'll struggle to get out of the gravel, but give it everything he's got. Shame, he was flying.
Well, these conditions, it's just like the first race, Tim. The rain is now coming down. They started on a dry track. David Leslie's dropped quite a long way down the order. A bunch of cars have gone past him. Paul O'Neill is the next one to get through, and Gavin Piper leading in the independent class. Looks like he could be a major threat. Now, the pit lane window is open as Alan Morrison comes in. Now, he's putting slicks on, which is interesting considering there's some rain falling.
Yeah, this will count as a compulsory stop, but it's a brave gamble with rain falling to go out on slicks now, because if it carries on raining, he's going to have to stop again.
Well, I wonder if everyone, well, no, not everyone's thinking the same thing at all. There are wets being prepared down there for some of the cars as well. Tom Chilton's running pretty well at the moment, just ahead of Paul O'Neill. But we're in that period between lap 10 and 18 where they're allowed to come in, where they have to come in fact, to change at least 2 wheels. They're changing all 4, and they're putting wet tyres on Ivan Muller's car.
Yeah, the VX Racing team acting like synchronised swimmers, and that was a very quick stop, and Muller's now gone out on the right tyres.
David Leslie comes in as well. We saw him battling to stay up in the top 3 and lost several places, but now putting the wets on. Ivan Muller rejoins the fray once again as Matt Neal is just heading out of the pits in the Honda. Oh, and Chris Ryan, who was doing so well earlier on today, he's put it in the gravel, and there are problems for Neal.
Yeah, it was a slow pit stop for Matt. He came in with a lot of gravel in that car, remember, and it looks to have the right front not seated properly.
Well, vital that James Thompson gets away cleanly. He was leading this race before they started making their pit stops. Can he maintain that lead? Another great stop from the VX Racing crew. They send him on his way. It's all over, though, for Matt Neal. First race has ended in the gravel. Second race with the wheel off. It has not been a great day for Honda.
No, battle looks to be resumed at the front of the field once more with Thompson and Muller, while Paul O'Neill gets his pit stop.
So Paul hopefully gets out safely, but we've got the safety car coming out. Too many cars off at the side of the track once again. It's getting tricky out there.
Mike, what went on with Matt's wheel, do you know?
We don't know, actually. It looks as though after the pit stop he's lost the front right, and it's a quick little car, but not on 3 wheels.
And Morrison seemed to have a wrong tyre choice there.
It wasn't the wrong tyre choice. We called him on the lap, and 2 laps later it rained. So he's back out, he's in 6th, and we'll see where we go.
So disappointing for Michael and the Honda racing team, but let's see what happens now as we get the restart underway. And up front, James Thompson tries to stretch out his advantage again over Ivan Muller in 2nd place. It's now Tom Chilton in 3rd place, the youngster, the 18-year-old. First race meeting driving for a works team, and he's trying to stay with the Vauxhalls. He's
a very quick driver in the wet. He proved that at Knockhill last year. This is his opportunity to learn from 2 of the world's best touring car racers and to score a good result for his new employers, Honda.
Well, if they do anything a bit naughty in front of him, Tim, he could end up winning this race, because it's been pretty close between these two throughout the course of the afternoon, and they've just got to try and keep it clean.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Muller, as I say, really wants to make amends for that first race. He looks very aggressive, using different lines. He'll want to get past Thompson and show that he's the wet weather king. James Kay off again. It's been a tough weekend for those guys. Synchro Motorsport only finishing the car off almost here this weekend. They'll be back for more at Brands Hatch. Meanwhile, here comes Muller, trying to go down the inside of James Thompson. Yeah, Thompson saw him coming, but he gave him a little bit of room on the inside on the apex so he didn't get clipped, and knowing he'd still be quickest out of the corner, but battle is certainly joined. Well, you wouldn't want to take off your teammate in the first meeting of the year. They had their little incidents last year once or twice, but so far they're managing to avoid hitting each other. But this first race is so important psychologically. Thompson already with 1 win to his credit. Muller wants to get back at him immediately, and that's why he's hunting around looking for any opportunity. We've got Carl Breezoff in the Peugeot 307, but at least he's got the car up and running. Again, another team that's worked throughout the night hours to get this car ready. On board with Muller, you can see the spray. Muller is all over the curbs, looking for a bit of an advantage. He's on the dirt, through the puddle. There's a chink of a gap, and Muller is in there like a shot. Yeah, in fact, Muller's got down the inside of Thompson. He takes the lead as they go on to their last lap. What a vital moment this is for Ivan Muller to snatch the advantage from James Thompson, who just perhaps
didn't think Muller was going to go for it, and then he did at the last moment, and now Muller's got the job of defending.
I think if Thompson hadn't moved out of the way, Muller would have collected him. He'd made his mind up, he was going for that, and he's now leading on this last lap.
Well, can Muller come back then? Can they make it one win apiece from the opening rounds of the championship from Mondello Park, a very wet Mondello Park in Ireland? What some great racing that it's provided for us. Tom Chilton still running in third place, but it's all about these top two and whether Thompson can find a way of getting back past his teammate.
Well, they're earning their money this afternoon. This is fantastic racing, really, really good. And Muller isn't actually pulling away that much from Thompson.
He's got a bit of clear air now. The windscreen wipers, you can see juddering across the windscreen. He's got decent visibility, unlike Thompson, who's still getting spray thrown across the car. This should be the opportunity for Muller to get away. He's opened up a little bit of a gap now, but Thompson hasn't given up. In fact, closes up again once more under braking.
Yeah, they're still very close. Half a lap to go.
Could be anybody's race still. We ride on board with Thompson, and suddenly he's right there with Muller again.
Right there, and Muller's moving around very defensively.
So, can Muller hold on? He's gone in a little bit too deep. Thompson now can scent there's still an opportunity. Only a few corners to go on this final lap, but Thompson wants a second victory. Gets alongside Muller, and he almost manages to go through, and Muller was a little bit slow there.
Yeah, he must have a problem. He wouldn't drive that defensively otherwise. And really now Thompson's got a great opportunity. He's running wide to get a good slingshot out of this last corner. MG, will he be able to get up the inside?
Well, Muller's doing everything he can, but he's just not got enough speed. Something's happened. Muller's car not as quick in a straight line as it was earlier. Thompson flies through. He retakes the lead, and what a crucial moment. This is the last corner of the last lap coming up. There's no opportunity for Ivan Muller really to come back at him, and I'm sure there's a problem with that car as Tom Chilton's beginning to close up in third. James Thompson makes it 2 out of 2, and Muller across the line just in front of Tom Chilton, who very nearly took him on the line, and could hear there Muller's engine not sounding at all clean as he went over the line. So definitely picking up a problem at the end of the race. Michael Bentwood's coming through to take the win in the production class. Remember, he spun in the first part of this race, and yet he's recovered to take victory. So a fantastic drive from him, but what a day for James Thompson. The ideal start to his championship defence. James Thompson has completed the double here at Mondello Park, mastering the changeable conditions to win both races, despite all the aggression and intensity of the challenge from his own teammate, Ivan Muller. Tom Chilton takes the second podium finish of his career. Paul O'Neill was only 2 seconds behind in the third works Vauxhall, and Alan Morrison overcame the wrong tyre choice to earn 6 points for fifth. Gavin Piper's win in the independents class may help him continue racing this season, and Michael Bentwood wins for the first time in production. So Ivan Muller is ultimately frustrated at Mondello, unlike Mr. Thompson.
That was quite an exciting end. Tell me, did you have a little helping nudge to push you down into second at all?
No, but to be honest, it was I saw him make a bit of a lunge down the inside, and I thought, oh no, not Brands all over again. So I thought, oh, just, discretion's a better part of valor. I thought, well, still 1 lap to go, so I just let him through, and finishing the race was more important to me than ending up in the gravel trap.
First race I was the quicker on the track. I was unlucky. Second race I was the quicker again. I come back from 7 to the leadership, and last lap the mechanic decided differently. So different year, same story.
Did you think at any time you could be with a shot at winning it, because James and Ivan seem to have little tussles?
Yeah, a couple of points I was thinking, oh, if he T-bones him right there, I can get around the outside, but no, it didn't happen. I think Ivan's engine went up the start line because there was probably only half a metre in it. So it was very close, down to the line. That's what it's all about.
So the champion returns to the top step of the podium, and with 15 points for a win, a bonus for fastest lap, and 2 bonus points for leading at some stage in each race, Thompson earns a useful 6-point buffer over Ivan Muller in the championship. Morrison was best of the rest and keeps Irish eyes smiling, while Tom Chilton proved his promotion to a works drive is fully justified. 2 second places for Jim Edwards in the production class for virtually unmodified cars have put him at the top of the table, tied with Michael Bentwood. Luke Hines ultimately had a disappointing weekend after taking pole position for the class in qualifying. It was a virtually perfect weekend for VX Racing, but they're aware the rest of the season is unlikely to be so good. Their main threat at the moment is Honda, but MG will be quick at Brands Hatch after 2 wins there last year. Vauxhall have never been headed in the Manufacturers Series since the rules changed, but Honda and MG will hope to do something about it as we go through the rest of the season.